Hi, for this tutorial, we'll be talking about MapRoulette and paint styles in JOSM. Just a brief overview of MapRoulette. MapRoulette's a task management system for creating and completing micro tasks in OpenStreetMap. These tasks can range from adding tags to features, to fixing geometry errors, and even verifying ground survey work. The URL that you see at the bottom of the presentation is a link to the MapRoulette GitHub and its wiki, where you'll find loads of information on all the features and functionality that MapRoulette offers. Continuing with our overview, what you can do with MapRoulette, you can create and manage a project or challenge. You can suggest fixes to users. This could be in the form of, I think the name tag should equal missing maps. Please verify and approve or reject the name. You can also search projects and challenges geographically or by name or a variety of other filters. You can map and validate a task similar to the tasking manager, and you can also produce metrics and reports for challenges, projects, and users. Let's talk about the structure of MapRoulette in regards to projects and users, and we'll start with projects. MapRoulette is a fairly simple project structure. You have projects. Projects can contain challenges, and challenges are made up of tasks, which are items for a user to fix and resolve. So you can have many tasks within a challenge. You can have multiple challenges within a project, and you can have any projects within other projects. There's also a visibility component to the project structure. Projects can be visible or invisible, or private or public. If they're marked invisible, like the one we see here in our example, then challenges within those projects are not discoverable or searchable. You can also mark individual challenges within a project as visible or invisible without affecting the whole project visibility. This is useful if you have sensitive information or data in a project or challenge and you need to keep that private for whatever reason. Moving on to users. The user structure is pretty simple. There are site admins who have super user ability on the site. You have project managers in MapRoulette, and within that, you have the project owner and other managers. So multiple people can manage a project. And then project managers are also every user in MapRoulette. Every user has the ability to be a project manager and create challenges within MapRoulette. Every user also has the ability to be a mapper or a reviewer, although you can't review your own work. And I'm going to pass it along for a demo.
All right, thanks. Okay, so MapRoulette is at maproulette.org. This is the main page here, the front page. You can sign in just like you sign into the Hot Tasking Manager. Just click sign in up here. And then just like in the Task Manager, you hit grant access and it shows up and now you're logged in. You can see the stats up here, how much you've done. Then let's go to the front page a little bit. So there's a little bit of information about what MapRoulette is, what it does, some information about how many things have been fixed, and other different kinds of things. The way I usually start is go to this Get Started page. This brings you to the list of different challenges that are out there. There's lots of different ones. You can sort of start to scroll in this sidebar here. There's got Somalia highways, graveyards in Europe, bus stops in France, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, all kinds of different things. If you know what you're looking for, you can just find it here, or you could search for it. If you're not so sure, there's different ways to filter the data, to filter the different challenges and see what's available. So for example, right now it's sorted by default, but if I want to see, for example, the newest challenges, I can do that. Here's the ones here. Or you could see the most popular ones that are getting a lot of action. People are working on these a whole lot. Or you can just go back to the default. You can also filter by different kinds of work. Let's say I want to do different kinds of things like just roads, for example. Here's all the roads projects that are available. Or I can do just the buildings projects. Here's things that are related to buildings. Lots of different kinds of things, Detroit, Indonesia, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Transit, which is things like bus stops and railways and things like that. So lots of different kinds of challenges that are out there. You could also filter it by difficulty. Let's say you want to find the easiest challenges because maybe you're new. Here's some good ones that are easy. Or let's say you're an expert mapper. You want to find some hard ones. Here's the more difficult ones. Lots of different possibilities. You could also search for things. Let's say I want to find China sharp angles because I know that's one I want to work on. And there it is. It shows up. And then if you want to work on it, you can just click on it. And now you see a slightly different view. So this is the view of what the challenge is called, the difficulty when it was posted last month, and then some information about the challenge. So you want to make sure you read this because this kind of tells you what it's about and what it does. And then here's the actual locations of where these issues are. If you scroll down a little bit, you see some stats as well, how many are fixed, how many are already fixed or skipped or whatnot. And then this is also a useful one too, the average time per task. So how long does it take to fix one of these tasks? In this case, it's just about a minute, so relatively fast. If you want to start mapping, you can just click Start Mapping, and that'll pick a random challenge or a random task somewhere in this challenge. Or let's say you're interested in a certain location, you could actually zoom in and then click on it once you zoom in all the way. So I can do it that way. So this is the actual fixing the task screen. So you see here's the title, there's some instructions. In this case, it says a certain highway has 2 angles that are too sharp. And this blue area here is the way we're looking at, and these 2 points are the place that's too sharp. You can choose what editor you like to use. You could do ID or JOSM or whatever. I'll choose ID for this one, and I'll go ahead and hit edit. That opens up your ID window, and then you can go through and fix the issue. In this case, actually, it looks like it might already have been fixed. Let me look back at the map here. There's 2 little points there. Yeah, so in this case, that issue was already fixed. I don't see a sharp angle here anywhere. So in that case, I can just go back to the MapRoulette and say it's already fixed. And then it'll show me a new one. Here's one that this has a sharp angle here. It has a location. I can zoom in. It's sort of hard to see, but a lot of times you have to zoom in pretty close to see these. So I'll go ahead and try this one. A lot of times with these sharp angles, it's someone just barely dragged a node or something like that. And it looks like there is something kind of funny here. So see, there's this little weird corners. That might be the issue. So I can actually move this one up, then straighten that out. I want to match to the imagery. That looks like it's pretty well matched on there. And that seems like the angle has been fixed. So I'll go ahead and hit save. When you do hit save, it'll use, this is something that's specified in the challenge itself. So it has the name of the challenge. It has #MapRoulette. You can also add your own information, fixed a sharp angle, for example, and then upload it. And then once that gets uploaded, you can go back to MapRoulette and say, I fixed this. There's a few different things you can do in this window. You can type in, some information, I fixed it. That's optional, you don't have to type anything. There's also this little checkbox here, need an extra set of eyes. So that's if you want someone to review your work, you're not sure if it's correct, or maybe you're working as part of a team and you want someone else to double check your work or something like that. You can go ahead and check that. I think I'll check that just because why not? We'll also show you later on how to actually review these things. And then you can hit submit. There's also another option down here, random or nearby. Random will just give you another random task that's in this challenge somewhere. Or you can pick nearby. If you're interested in this particular location, it'll show you the ones that are closest to where you're actually mapping. So I'm going to do nearby and pick another task that's nearby. And here's another one. It gives information. It's got too sharp an angle at this point here. Okay, that's good to know. And I'll zoom in. It does look like there's some kind of little funny jog there. So let's go ahead and edit this and check it out. All right. So yeah, it does look like there's a little funny twist or something in the road. So I can go ahead and zoom out here. This one's a little bit hard to see because I don't actually see this road, but it might be that this is underneath or something like that. So let me look at different imagery here just to make sure I'm doing the right thing. It's kind of hard to tell. It could be that's the second layer. In this case, I'm not really sure. I probably should straighten this out, but I don't know what's going on with this particular segment. So I might just revert that and not actually change anything because I can't really tell what the issue is. So in that case, I can just click on too hard, can't see. It looks like that's how to fix it, but I don't know for sure. So I'm going to do that. And then someone else can review this. I've got review checked on, so somebody could double check it. Let's try a different one. You can also choose JOSM if you'd like to do JOSM in this case. So I can choose, pick this to be JOSM and opens the task in JOSM the same it does in ID. So it's kind of whatever you prefer on that. A few other things you can do. You can look at your profile here and see different kinds of information. Your inbox, like if someone sends you a message or something like that. Review, which is what I just did. I checked a couple of those things to be reviewed later on. Create and manage is how to create your own challenge. We'll show you how to do that later on. User settings is one that's probably going to be pretty useful. So in this case, you can choose your default editor if you want ID or JOSM or something else. It's always open. So in this case, I'll just pick ID. You can choose your language if you want to have be in the leaderboard you'd like to be a reviewer yourself, and things like that. User metrics is also an interesting one. This shows you how much you've actually done, things you've done over time, how many issues you fixed, and stuff like that, points you have and things of that nature. So that's kind of a fun one as well. And that's it for the demo.
Cool, yeah, thanks. Let's look at reviewing a task in MapRoulette. So I apologize for the graininess of this video, but it's quite long, and we had to export it in a lower quality format. So in order to review a task in MapRoulette, you actually have to volunteer as a reviewer on your user settings page. So once that's done, you can actually head to the review tab and go down to the review table. And here we're just applying a couple filters. You can apply a lot of different filters to change what sort of tasks you actually want to review. In our case, we want to look at fixed tasks because that's likely where a user actually made changes to data in OpenStreetMap. So once you do that, you can hit the Review These Tasks button and jump to that task. And here we can see that the user was working over an area of the world. We get a little context of their task history here. We can see that they aligned away and that they also marked the task as fixed. And we can use the View in OSM CHA button to actually query the change set that was associated to that fix. And we can click on that in OSM CHA and leverage OSM CHA's ability to actually analyze the data that the user was editing. So here we can see that they made minor alignments to the road. There weren't any tag changes. We could potentially switch the imagery or the base map if we wanted to check on that. So in this instance, it looks like the user made a good change, so we can approve the task in MapRoulette. We can write them a little comment similar to the tasking manager. We can say, great job, this was a good edit, thanks. In this window as well, we can also add tags to the task that we're reviewing, and that might be a good way to query later on that the user made good alignment. We can also use Markdown to write more substantial comments, which make it a little bit easier for users to filter through feedback. Here we're applying the tag to the task. We can also adjust our filters in terms of the next task that we want to review. So everything that we saw on the table page is pretty much doable here. In our case, we want to use the current challenge. We could change the priority if we wanted to. Once that's done, we can hit submit and we'll get another task based on that filter. So here again, we can see the history widget. We can see it's the same user and they fixed a few floating highways and they marked the task as fixed. So we're going to load that in OSM CHA. And here there's actually 2 change sets associated with that fix. So we're going to inspect each one. And for the sake of this demo, we're going to call these bad changes, but in reality, it was probably okay what the user did. In this demo, for what the user is doing here, we might suggest that they not remove those features and change the roads to maybe paths to better represent ground truth. So here we're just leaving a comment reminding the user that, hey, maybe they shouldn't have removed the roads from OSM. We can add them back. We can remove the tag that we added on the last task, and then we can move on to the next one. And that's sort of the basic review flow. When you've reviewed a few tasks, you can actually go back and look at tasks that you've reviewed in case you needed to make a change. Maybe you approved a task that you really should have rejected, and that's what you can see in that view. So moving on, we're switching gears here a little bit to JOSM paint styles, and we'll start with a brief overview. Paint styles are style sheets for JOSM driven by MapCSS. MapCSS is a CSS-like language for map styling. It contains loads of powerful combinations of filtering statements that allow you to highlight specific map features. Similar to cascading style sheets used in web development, this is used for styling map features. There's a multitude of examples to be found on both the OSM Wiki and JOSM Wiki, so you don't necessarily need to know how to code in order to implement some basic map styles. So once we have a style, what does it actually do? In the pictures that you see now on the left, we can see an area in Kampala, Uganda. with data downloaded and what the features look like without any styling applied. We can see that there's not much context given to the features. We don't really know what's a path or what's a road or what's a building. In the middle, we can see what the same area looks like with the JOSM default style applied. Again, a little more definition to the features now. We can see road names. We can sort of see outlines of roads and other paths. And then on the right, we can see what the Apple paint style looks like. It's an open source paint style in the OSM Lab repo. Even more definition, we can see the road names a bit clearer, and it's a little bit easier to tell what the paths, where the paths are. Here's an example of editing in JOSM using an inline validation style that's also available from the list of available paint styles in JOSM. We can see that errors are highlighted on the map, both in text and color, and here we're removing connections where roads connect to buildings. Notice that as we fix that, the paint style reflects the changes we've made. Bridges should also typically have a layer tag in OSM. So here we're going to add a layer tag, and note that also the paint style reacts dynamically to the change we're making to the tag. It's pretty cool. It's very dynamic, and you can identify a lot of data issues using paint styles in JOSM. So up next, as we've said, paint styles give you a way to visually validate map data before, during, and after editing it. So let's take a look at the example in front of us and see how we could potentially validate data in JOSM. So on the left, we see the basic structure of a selector and declaration block. We can see that we need to select something, in this case, a map feature, and then apply styling to it through a series of property and value pairs. So on the right, we have an actual example of a paint style, so we can dig in to what it's trying to do. At the start of the selector, we see way, which is a type of element in OSM, typically a linear feature. It could also be a closed area. So we know that we want to style ways at this point. Next, in the brackets, we see that we have highway equal to primary. Highway is a tag in OSM. So we're trying to style a highway that has a value of primary. Following this, we have an exclusion in brackets. We're saying not name or a feature without a name tag. So we're looking to style a way, if we're putting this all together, that has a highway tag with a value of primary, and it can't have a name either. So once our style selects that feature, we use property and value pairs to tell JOSM what to do. So here we can see, okay, we want this feature to have a width of 10. We're going to throw some text that says missing name on primary road, change the text color, the font size, and at the bottom, we're changing the actual color of the feature to orange. Documentation on how to actually use selectors and property and value pairs is found on the JOSM wiki using the link below. So once we've loaded that style in JOSM, this is what we can expect to see. We can see how the code from our previous slide reacts once we download data. Notice that we changed both the color and text of primary roads without names. This is useful potentially if you are undertaking a field survey to add names on major roads within a given area. You can easily highlight areas missing names and have mappers compare field survey notes with what they see in JOSM. And now we can show a brief demo of what that looks like in JOSM using the same paint style. Here we can see that paint style loaded in Sublime Text, a free text editor. We're seeing that we're trying to do the exact same thing. Style a way that's a primary highway that doesn't have a name. So let's move on to JOSM. So once that style is loaded in JOSM, we can actually go around and find a primary road without a name. In our example here in Jinja, we actually only have one primary road here, and it has the proper name, Jinja Kamuli Road. But if, for example, we were to remove that name, we would see that our style is accurately reflecting based on our selector and the styling properties that we wanted to apply. So we can see here that there's missing name on primary road. We can see that the width has indeed increased on the road itself, and that the color has changed to orange. Again, using the inline validation as an example, if for some reason we were to connect this road to a building, we would also see the node highlight where the road and building share a connection. So it's very powerful what you can do with paint styles in terms of validating data in JOSM. That's it. Thanks for joining.